Hey guys, welcome back. Today's lesson is going to be all about making the pages for our art journal so you can actually begin art journaling soon. Before we dive in today, I just want to say a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, as they've not only enabled me to be able to share this class for free here on YouTube, but Skillshare has provided me with so many more learning opportunities right at my fingertips. So if you don't know what Skillshare is yet, it's an online learning community where you can take thousands of classes in a really huge range of categories, so including bookbinding, journaling, drawing, painting, business, filmmaking. There is so many more on there, but that's just some of the categories that get me interested and excited. I'm really grateful to be able to share with you guys an opportunity to try Skillshare yourself for free by using my link down below. So that link down below will get you a 2-month free trial, or if you do sign up for a premium membership, it only costs around $10 a month, and that gives you unlimited access to as many classes as you want on the whole entire website. So it's a really good value, especially if you're self-motivated, you like to be self-paced, or even if you're a bit private about your growth, you want to learn but you don't want to do it under pressure. It's a really great learning opportunity. I'm pretty confident you guys are going to love it just as much as I do. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you through making pages for your art journal. And to keep this really easy, I've just used really basic supplies. So I've taken 20 sheets of A4 copy paper, just printer paper. And I've also taken 4 sheets of cardstock. So I've got 2 black pieces and I've got 2 colored pieces. I'm going to take the colored pieces, I'm going to dye them along with the white paper. And to dye them, I'm just taking some coffee. I just like to pour a bunch of coffee into a tray or a dish. You can tweak the amount you use depending on how dark you want your pages to be. I wanted mine to be quite dark, so I put quite a lot. And then I just poured some boiling water on top, just straight from the kettle. And then I just like to dunk my pages completely in to get them nice and dark. The only other thing that I'm doing differently in this process is I mixed up a little spray bottle with rubbing alcohol, acrylic paint and water. And I'm just spritzing this over the pages to give me some more like different hues and just to see how it sort of reacts to the water while it's wet and to give me some unpredictable results. I like to dry my pages in the oven, but you can air dry them, it's up to you. Once they're dry, I want you to take out a bunch of scraps of paper. You can use whatever you have at home. I've got a bunch of scrapbook scraps that I'm going to try and use up, and I'm just going through my scraps and I'm pulling out anything that I feel has a little bit of a vintage look to it. I want my art journal to be very vintage looking, so that's hence why I'm choosing vintage looking scraps, but you can go for whatever look that you want in your art journal. So I'm just going through and pulling out anything I feel like will work well and just making a pile of sort of include, don't include. And then with all the bits of scraps that I want to include, I'm just going to start cutting and tearing them down into little pieces and gluing them onto some of the pages. So I'm doing this to about 10 of the pages out of the 20 copy papers that I have. And I'm just using my glue stick to glue some little scraps around the page. So after I glue these on, I intend on taking my sewing machine and adding some messy stitching and to help glue everything down a little bit better. But you don't have to sew. I'm doing both so that everything's sitting where I want it to be. Any pages that got torn during the dyeing process, I'm just tearing down so that they look a little bit more even. I'm not worried if they're shorter than the other pages in my journal. I always like to have a little bit of variety anyway. So doing this is just going to help us break in our art journal really. It's giving us half the pages already with something on them, and I feel like that just helps gives you a starting point when it comes to using your art journal. If the page already has something on it, it's a little bit easier to start. I feel like it just helps break in the page so much, so that's why I'm doing this. And I also feel like it gives a really interesting look and it just gives you that head start when you use your journal. It's also a really awesome way to use paper scraps. If you've got a lot of them like I do, it is a really good way to use them up. So like I said, once I've attached my scraps on, I've done about 10 sheets that have scraps. I'm also going to take mine through my sewing machine so that I can add some messy stitching. I just like the extra element of texture that gives and the extra interest that adds to the page, but you don't have to. If you don't have a sewing machine, don't worry, you can totally skip that step. So there you can see what my pages look like with some messy stitching. I tried to keep mine really flowy, really messy and shabby looking. I've also kept the threads of my stitches quite long, just because I like how everything looks a little bit more shabby. I want my whole art journal to have a really shabby vintage feel to it, which is why I've stitched in that way. So that's about it to make our pages. And so for this week, I just want you to get your pages together, dye them, maybe ink them a little bit. You can distress them a little bit, add some scraps of paper, and just get them all ready so that in the next lesson we can bind our book together. I hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. Again, a huge thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Make sure you click my link down below to get your free trial. Yeah, make sure you use the Nameless Art Journal hashtag so I can see your work this week, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.